if you tilt your camera up, you can see underneath, so you can see which way the killer's pushing you. So you want to get the killer to follow you around the car so you can jump this particular window. Let's go loop this thing. Yeah, how you like that? If these looping guides are helping you out at all, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like. It helps me more than you could ever imagine. Also go follow on Twitch. We do these looping guides live on Twitch. So if you want to see what it's like behind the scenes or just hang out while we're doing all these looping guides, then come hang out on Twitch. Hope this video gives you some help and some much needed love that you might need on one of these harder killer maps like Wretched Shop, and I'll see you next time. Alright, Wretched Shop, also known as try as hard as you can not to 3-gen. So the first thing you really want to talk about with this one, this is the first Wrecker's Yard map I've done, so we have to go over all of the common tiles, which I like to do anyway, because some of the maps common tiles are missing, like Rotten Fields is missing lane gyms specifically. So it's good to go over the common tiles anyway. But this one, the common tiles are a little bit different. Things like the NO gym specifically are easier to run. This is the one I was just talking about. Is easier to run it because you can see a lot of these killers over the wall, where it's not the same as the other one. So you can sort of camp here as a safe spot as opposed to some of the other gyms. It is missing some of the common tiles that are on the other maps. It's missing the one with the skis. I call it the Ormond Gym. That is also on the Yamaoka Estate maps. And it does not have the gym that's also on the Mother's Dwelling, and Ormond have a common tile that they share that none of the other maps share as well. I call that the locker gym because there's a bunch of lockers in the back. The main strategy with this map, honestly, besides looping, is trying as hard as you can not to 3-gen, because that's just as important. Because if you're gonna end up 3-genning and then this area is all limited. There's all limited resources in that area. So if you get 3-gen, there's nothing for you to run to and save yourself from. The most likely 3-gen that you're going to face is be back in this area or back in that area, usually behind the shop, because you'll have one in the shop. You'll have one here most of the time, and there's another one like over there. So this would be the 3-gen that we'd be trying to avoid if we were playing on this map. Oh, we actually don't have the... We actually don't, because a lot of times you'll have a gen right here, and this is when it gets hard, is when you have a 3-gen. Looks like we might not have had a 3-gen this time, but that's how it goes when when things are left up to RNG. So be aware of that the biggest struggle with this map most of the time is trying not to 3-gen. So let's go over some of the common tiles. This is a simple pallet gym, same as you see it on like every other map, where it's just like the one pallet and then the short side. So obviously if you ever get in the scenario where you were looping the one side and then you greet it again and they have bloodlust, then that's like pretty much the only scenario where you're looping this side. Or if it's like a huntress or something, because hunters could hit you on the long side, or a trickster with the knives, and then you'd want to loop something like this side and be keeping the camera in the middle so you can see which side they come around. But most often you're going to be running this side, right, to see. Now, I like this one more than regular ones because you can camp this side. This is the safest spot to camp on the simple pallet gyms. And you can definitely see which way they're coming. So I like these ones for that reason, even though they're shorter, which makes them seem like they're less safe. But I think they're a little bit safer because of that, because you can actually see all the way around it. And so it makes the one safe spot to camp that's not at the pallet much safer than it is on the other one. Because on the other times, on the other simple pallet gyms, I want you to camp here, but it's too small. So if you camp here and he pushes around the pallet way, you're not going to make it all the way back to the pallet. And if he comes around that way, you'll make it there. But you can make it there just from being here because it's short enough. So I would say with these ones, you want to camp here instead of right here. What we'll also say about simple pallet gyms is you want to camp this. If you're in a scenario where it's thrown and you're camping it, you want to camp the closed corner, and you want to wait for the killer to be actually something like here. Once again, this is not the safest scenario to be in, but you want to show some patience. Camp here and then jump, and then same thing, camping right here until you see them. You never just want to jump. You want to wait for them to get to the spot and then jump. If you do that, it is safe, but this is not one of the most safe compared to every other simple pallet gym on every other map is safer in that scenario. Yes! Where'd Originally, it was a challenge from the killer. Yeah, big swing. Dang, good shit. I could have greeted it again. Like any type of useful. It is the Attack on Titan skin. I want this skin so bad. I just can't justify spending $15 on an in-game video skin right now. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to see. Oh god. Oh damn, he went the other way. So this is a PW gym. I like these on this map. Most of the time these are my least favorite jungle gym. But on this map it's better because you can see through the walls and you can see certain killers over the jungle gym itself. So ideally, once again, the ideal path that you'd want to do is to be running this way. Killer either respect the pallet or just keep chasing you and then you jump the window. And the killer either like get stuck at a mind game or they go around the long way and then same thing. You can either greed the pallet and then jump the window. So this would be ideal. But gyms like this have been around forever, so killers are always trying different types of mind games. So we have to mind game them back. Obviously, like I said, you can see certain killers through this, which helps a lot because they can't really mind game here specifically. And they can't really mind game this because you can see them come through that window right there. Obviously, you want to go that way or that way. But what I mean by mind gaming the killer is if you've already greeted the pallet a few times and looping super tight, the killer can see you. When I'm talking about looping tight, the killer can see you looping like you're going to do this, but then you can fast jump, right? Because then the killer might go back the other way because killer comes around the corner and they're right about here and you're hugging tight like this, the killer might double back and then you just double the distance between you and the killer because of that. Now, same thing if you're running around this way. If you're looping this way and you already greeted the pallet and the killer's coming, if you're running towards the wall like this, the killer might be less likely to come around this way when you jump it, because that could be essentially a mind game, especially if they have bloodlust. See how I was running that direction and I pressed the button and it still forced me into the running vault, right? Even though I'm holding into the wall, I did not change my stick at all, just like that. You'll always get the running vault. But you can fake out killers, like I just said, them committing, like, oh, he's going to run in, and then you vault it. That doesn't work all the time, but it just helps for those times when the killer comes around the corner. They see you vault, they have bloodlust, they come around here, and if they have bloodlust, they're going to make it to you before you make it back to the pallet, right? So, if you have killers like that are doing all those type of mind games, and obviously, you just go which ways. You just don't want to get caught out on, like, this side. This is a bad side to get caught up on, and obviously you don't want to use this one. This one, there's, like, no reason. I don't even know why this one's here, but it's always going to be there. Also be aware, if you're going to try to get the running vault, a lot of times on the other maps you can get a running vault like this. But on this map, I've never gotten it. Doesn't mean I'm just not good enough to get the running vault, but I've never gotten the running vault in this scenario. So be aware with these gyms, because on other maps you can connect it to stuff by getting the running vault. But this one is very hard, if not impossible. There's actually... Where the fuck did you put traps at? Hag is so slow, dude. It's fucking hilarious. You need to swing, swing. Yes! Swing. Oh, damn. Should have got me here. Or maybe she respected. Damn. Ah! I did not expect that. I won't lie. But like all their hunter shots were registering from like the most ridiculous, like they'd miss by like 3 feet and it'd be like, nope. I'm like, how, dude? God damn it. He got me. No, I tried to juke it. Damn, I should have juked it. No. So this is a Longwall gym. So this is my favorite of the jungle gyms, the standard jungle gyms that appears on like every single map, just because most of the time it's the most consistent one. This pallet right here, you can decide to loop it by itself, right? And if you're coming around, your check spot's obviously here, and you can see more on this one because you can see through here. So if they're coming around this way, if they're not coming this way and you start seeing a red stain all there, time to jump the window. It's a little bit more difficult if you're running this direction to jump that window as well. But if you're running this direction, most of the time I just use it to greed the pallet anyway, because you can do it, the mind game as well, but it gives them a lot, and that ends up putting you into this whole 50-50 mind game where the killer's on one side and you're on the other side, especially because he'll push you out that way and you're too far away from the pallet to get over there. So ideally, what you want to do pathing-wise, especially on this one, because these walls are shorter and you can't sell running back in as hard as you can in the other ones, especially if there's a flaming pile of garbage in the middle. So it's harder to be able to pull that one off unless the killer mind game himself. If the killer mind game himself, if you're running this way and you look and you don't see a red stain, then yes, jump the window. Because they probably mind game over that way and using it to break line of sight, and then you're doing this whole thing. Make sure you run a little wide so you don't get slapped through the window. But ideally, you'd be wanting to get pushed this way. Make sure, like I said, with your checkpoints, you can stand here. You get an extra checkpoint here because you can see right through that. Pulling around, he comes this way, and then jump it. Now, what I like about these the most is what I was talking about before with OPenises is this right here can be considered an OPeness. You don't even need a pallet here because you can use the distance between you and the killer here to make it back to the long wall, essentially, right? And then you can be gaming this again, right, and doing this whole thing. And if you come around, and this too, if the killer even mind games himself there, you can just run back around here, come back to this side, and now the killer has to try to get you close enough before you can jump it again. And that's why I like Longwall gyms, because these are the most guilty culprit of giving survivors insane setups. It's usually Longwall gyms connected to something else close enough for you to be able to loop the two together. So that's why I really like Longwall gyms, to be completely honest. It's so weird. He like vaults once and then runs away. Hell yeah, I can. So these are the ones that I call the NO gyms, because the first times I saw this setup, it has this ski. It's when you have that one unsafe pallet here. It's on Yamaoka Estate maps as well, where Yamaoka Estate, it has like a little like bush, as well as Mother's Dwelling has that like little out part, and then you run towards this gym over here. But it's similar setup essentially. Now you can run it differently, because a lot of times what you want to run is you want to like have the killer greed that, and then the killer respect it, and then you jump this, and the killer goes around here, and then they push around that way. You run it wide so you don't get hit through it. And then the same thing, you can be running it this way, and if the killer respects it, then you can come here and run it that way. Now the thing is that's ideal, but obviously the killer's going to push you a bunch of different ways, and I feel like the most dangerous area to get caught in on this gym is right here, because this is a similar area to those lane gyms, and most of the time in lane gyms I'll just like run in to break line of sight and then leave, whereas these are a little bit longer of a walls for the killer to try to swipe in. But that's also why you don't want to get stuck in between here, because they can come in and swipe from either way. That's why you want to keep it moving. But that's why this particular version of this works better, because you can see over this. So on this gym, I actually think it's safest to camp in this area, because if the killer pushes you around that way, you can just run into here, which is even safer when they're coming around this way, because if they pushed you back around here, then you can run back around this way, right? And then you can run back to your safe spot if you want. And then that way, if they push you around this way and you can't get the running vault, same thing. You might not get the running vault, but you can run here this way, which will either throw them off with the blood mark or the scratch marks, but also give you the opportunity to sort of mind game and greed the pallet again to throw them off as well. So the other ones I don't like camping here because you can't see over this wall and you're too far from any of the tiles. But on this one, a lot of these killers, and obviously you're not going to be able to see Hag or something over this, and you have to watch for the red stain. But a lot of these killers on this particular map in the Autohaven Wreckers Realm, you can see over this. So this is a safer spot to camp and loop that one to jump the window, and then use the pallet when you get pushed a weird direction that you're not ready for. Oh god. Yes! God. Oh, yes. No! So here we have the double windows gym. This is also kind of a newer gym. Now, ideally, the way you'd want to run this is you jump this, the killer pushes you around this way, which pushes you around here, and then you would jump this way, right? This is just ideally. And then the killer would walk around that way and push you around here, which would make you allowed to jump this again, which means he'd push you around that way. But obviously, things don't always go to plan, and killers are going to try to mind game you. And once again, this is more effective on this map since you can see some killers over this wall. But using this blank part in the middle is very good to keep space in between you and the killer, since you can see through it too, and that way you can see which way he pushes you to see which way to go. So you're not running this and force it into a 50-50 mind game, whether you have to juke it or vault it or not. Same thing as if you're coming this way, right? Like, I know this is over here, which gives you enough space to get the running vault, but this is a 50-50 essentially right here, because if they double back and you jump, you're not going to make it to another spot before they get a hit on you, right? So that's why you want to incorporate this one, especially if you're running over here and you haven't decided a rhythm yet. You haven't had him push you one way or the other, and then you want to do this, right? Because that way, if he pushes you this way, like I said, you run to that window. But if he pushes you around this way and you see him pushing you this way, then you run back to this. But do be aware that they will catch on to this and they might start double backing. So if you're running here, you don't want to stop your movement, especially if they're gaining space. If you're around here and you see them double backing, just jump the window. You're going to get the fast vault if you're there anyway. It takes some practice to sort of know which way to go to get the fast vault. But at the same time, it's good to know that using that wall is the best wall of the three, because then you can get pushed either way and it's not a 50-50. You'll have a plan. God. I was exposed, dude. He didn't call my bluff. Oh my god. I told you he was going to think it was the other guy. So here we have a lane gym. These ones, once again, because it's Autohaven Wreckers, you can see over them, but at the same time, I still feel like misdirection is the best strategy on these particular tiles. Specifically if you're going to try to use it to connect to something else, because a lot of times you don't know where the window is going to be. It can either be here or it can be on this wall instead, which you do not want it. It makes it easier to connect with the pallet that way to have the wall right here, but it makes it like impossible to get the running ball from here. And if it's on the inside, you can't have it connect to anything else. Whereas this one right here, if we had, say we had a pallet right here, which can happen, or like a pallet even between these two, which cannot happen, but just for the purposes of experimenting, let's say this pallet was right here, you'd be looping this, right? And then right as you get him at the peak, so say you greeted the pallet and then he waited, that's when you'd switch to this. That's why you want the lane gym walls to be on the outside, despite it being harder to get a running vault. Some of the running vaults are impossible because sometimes the opening's on this side and it's too steep and it's too hard for you to get. I got the running vault on this one, but some of the other maps it's not, and I'm not sure that every single variation of the lane gyms on this map give you the ability to do the running vault, but this one it can, obviously, especially easier if you're coming from that side. But the way you really want to run them, same thing, similar to the Ormond Gyms, is you're going to run this way and then you can do the vault. Wait to see which way the killer pushes you, right? Make sure you run a little wide in case he swipes through. And then same thing, you can wait for him to respect that and then chain it back. Obviously, there's a lot of counterplay here. A lot of times the killer will like come back here and then pre-swing in here and throw you off, but that's why I try to spend as little time possible in this area. Even though this is the pallet, this is the most like unsafe pallet to try to camp because you can't see which way it's coming from and you can swing either direction. So you really don't want to use this pallet much. You really want it to be more about the window, despite having that ideal way of looping it. But what you really want to do, in my opinion, most times, I come in here, I break line of sight for like half a second because a lot of times the killer will try to mind game that and get a lot of times they'll even try to pre-swipe in where they'll get a swing and you could get some extra distance. And then you go somewhere else, depending on which way it's facing. But it only really works with the pallet because that's where the killer knows. You can't try to break line of sight on this one, right? Because if you come in here, right, the killer's not, you know, or you turn in the corner here, right? If you do this, like, the killer is not going to fall for that. It has to be the pallet because the pallet is going to get the killer to try to mind game himself, which might give you enough distance to make it somewhere else that's safer. Like this, right? This only has a pallet, doesn't have a pallet in a window, but if you got here from that mind game, now we have what I call an OPeness, which is an OP setup. We called it an OPeness now because of the OP level of this, right? I was like, the OPness of this setup is huge. Naturally, we all giggled at that, and we call it the OPness. But if you could use the mind game to make it here, and then now we're doing the same thing we were doing before, where if I'm looping this and then the killer loops around, then I jump the window. And then the killer has to come over here. Maybe the killer vaults or something. And then I can run back out here, back to the same pallet. Maybe the killer respects it again. Same thing, they're trying to anti-loop, and then you jump the window. And that's much safer than a lane gym. But you can use a lane gym to make it away and make it to something safer by mind gaming at the pallet. Just for comparison's sake, this is another setup of the lane gym where you would be wanting to do the same thing. This is what I was talking about earlier, about how from this angle it's not possible to get the running vault. That's why you want it to be on the other side, is where you really want it, because it's much easier to get the running vault, and most of the time it is possible, whereas on a lot of these ones it's not possible. But you would still have the same type of thing. You'd want to do the mind game where you'd run in, break line of sight. And what I mean by break line of sight as well is you don't want to wait, because you have to take into account latency. So you have to think, like, I ran here, this should have broke line of sight, but you don't want to wait for the killer to react, right? So say the killer's walking up to you, you don't want to wait for him to then go this way for you to react. You want to come over here, be like, that should break line of sight, and then run out, and you have to try to time it. Now, it sounds scary, but just go for it. You just have to make sure you don't do it too much. Like, if the killer's not even to the gym yet, if he's out here, right, by the time that you like juked in and tried to come out, if it was on the other side, obviously not on this side, and he saw it, that's not going to work. You have to get into the point where like this should break line of sight by the time that he's going to try to mind game himself, and that's usually when it works. You're longer, but a lot of people forget about the fact that you also move a little bit faster. I don't really have anything back here though. Yes, I do. No! Stop moving! Jake moved twice. Oh my god, I got the slow vault. That was dumb as hell. Running vault. Ah! They're both there! Yeah, I got him. Oh, fuck. Damn. Ah! I'm not gonna lie, I thought the pallet was down. Gonna make it to the bus. No. No. Good old LT walls. They're on pretty much every single map. Now these ones are even more dangerous because they have very short sides, and you can actually see through them at points to see if the killer's like double backing or not. Like you can actually see right through there, but it's hard to stop right in time with that, and a lot of times I like to keep moving. So my strat never changes the LT walls. The first thing I try to do is run to the L, because the L is the longer and less dangerous of the two, and then run one loop around it. So if I was running towards this gym in the first place, I come this way, pull the killer around here, make sure the killer's coming around that way at your checkpoints, come around here, then I'd switch to this one, and then an L2 wall. Now what I'd run around the L2 walls is I have zero intention of actually jumping through that window. What you do is you run around as tight as possible like I'm doing, and the first time the killer mind games himself, you jump the other window. And then that resets everything back to square one, unless he pushes you back around this way and jumps. But killers don't do this too much, because that would be ideal, is if they push you around that way and then you jumped, and then they pushed around that way again, and then you jumped again. And killers expect that. That's why they try to push you into a mind game. So that's why I picked the long wall, or the L, which is the longer wall of the two. You run around that once, and then you run the shorter one until the killer mind games himself. And the first time the killer mind games himself, you take advantage and switch back to this one. Now, me personally, I think the one most, because most of the time where the killers try to get you into a mind game is they try to get you into this mind game. But the one that I fear the most, because it leads you up to the most vulnerability, is when you're coming around this way, and this blind spot right here. This is the blind spot you got to be aware of. If you come around this corner and then the killer comes around that way, because you're not going to be able to get this running vault without running extra wide, and you have to sacrifice distance, which they might hit you for. So be aware of that, that is the one weak spot I like to leave, because the way you loop LT walls is you try to cover as many of your weaknesses as possible, which leaves you open to certain others, and that's the weakness that's left open for me. No, she got my juke. That's so sad. Alright, it's Killer Shack. Pretty much the one thing that everybody should know how to run. There are tons of guides already for Killer Shack that probably go more in depth than how I am about to. But just for purposes of being complete, here we go. There's not too much different about this one. There's no little cool spots for you to be able to see through. Obviously, you can see through the back window, but you can do that on all the Killer Shack. But it's not like the ones on like Garden of Joy, where there's spots about there where you can see through, and windows that make it easier for you to not get mind gamed by the killer. So you really just want to think of major checkpoints, right? The biggest checkpoint that I like to camp at if I'm trying to initiate chase at Killer Shack, I like to be camping here. Personally, I like this checkpoint the most, because no matter which way he pushes me, if he pushes me around that way, I can even see him through the window. I can see him walk through that opening in the shack that way, and I can get the jump to this spot right here and see if he comes around the corner. Or if he comes from that way, and it will at least be able to get to the spot to mind game the window. Either he chases me all the way into Killer Shack and I jump it, or he does some type of mind game where he's going out. Because of this, there's a lot of different ways that people do. A lot of people will walk towards the window and break chase in case they can get some free vaults outside of chase to get some extra vaults. Me personally, I like to keep moving, and especially just keep my distance from the killer. So unless you have a situation like this, which is kind of annoying, I like to run a little bit wide. Now, you can't run wide with the generator here, but I like to run it a little bit wide, because that way, if they do one of those mind games where they went out for a second and then came back in to try to hit, I'm not like stuck here trying to do one of those medium vaults. And the reason I don't like depending on the medium vaults is it's too much up to latency on the killer. We've all been through it, where we got the medium vault, took 3 steps and got hit by the killer, right? But obviously that's way less common with the running vault. That's why I like to run a little bit wide, because even if they did the thing and you're thinking ahead of time, right, where I could either throw the pallet, I'm not going to make it all the way back around without getting hit in that scenario. That's why I like running wide, because if you run it a little bit wide, sometimes when they come back in, you can run towards the window. I didn't get the running vault there. It's a little bit hard, like I said, because of this gen being here. But if you ran it a little bit wide and then they tried that mind game, you can run back towards the window and still be getting the running vault. Now, obviously, the ideal way to run Killer Shack, if the killer tried no mind games, is you run around this way. You do your vault 3 times, the window blocks, and then if you really wanted to, you run around the 4th time and throw the pallet. Right? You just keep doing this, and the killer goes around. Obviously, killers do a bunch of stuff And that's why you have your checkpoint. So one particular checkpoint you need to stop at is this one right here. I will bring this up as well because of the killer vaulting, right? Same thing when you run to right here. You want your camera to be first one around because you want to see if the killer vaulted. You don't want to be stuck here and then the killer vaulting and now you're going to end up throwing the pallet or not making the window. Same with here. You want your camera to come around so you can see if they're vaulting and then run, right? And then if you're running here and you don't want to throw the pallet and you get stuck at this mind game, you either juke it and keep running or you run in and get the fast vault. I never like doing the fast vault personally unless I've gotten away with a few jukes already, and then you're playing the game of like, does he think I'm going to juke it for sure now yet? And he thinks he's going to get a free hit and then you vault it or not. Same with if you're getting pushed this way. If you jump the window on the killer mind games and you run back here, if it's the first one of the day, I would go in. I'm not going to do anything fancy like a crouch juke or anything and then run back out. You know, because that's going to save too much space. I wouldn't even run all the way in sometimes. A lot of times they just go back out and then can come back in, which will force you back into this scenario, which, once again, a lot of times people like to run straight like a box and then straight like a box and then straight in. But if you want to run it as efficiently as possible, this is like actual geometry here. Not really advanced geometry or anything, but if you're talking about a hypotenuse being shorter than the two other sides combined, right? And that's really what it is you're combining the length of from here to here, from here to here, and from here right in line at a straight line to here is going to be longer than if you run at an angle and then an angle in. Now the problem is if you run at an angle and you angle it in is you're playing really close to the line on how close you can be before you fast vault. I got the fast vault there, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to panic and hit the button a little bit too soon, you know? Like that time. I didn't get the fast vault there. Is a good example for comparison's sake. But if you want to run as efficiently as possible, you need to run at the curve and vault the window at an angle because that might be the difference between you getting hit and not getting hit. The one last thing I do want to say about Killer Shack, obviously it's if you're playing against a projectile killer, doing crouch jukes at the window actually is very effective because a lot of times they'll just wait to see if you had a motion and you want to hit that as little as possible. Like that was huge. You don't want to be like losing too much. You want to like seriously tap your button, like, because you just want some jerky little motion for them to, because they're waiting on anything like that for them to press shoot. So if you do give them like a teeny little jerky motion, a lot of times they will throw it. The other thing is if it's a projectile killer or even a Nemesis or a pyramid head or something like that, you don't want to like not throw the pallet and then come out here. A lot of times they're waiting for you to run in between here because this is a bottleneck. It's hard to dodge it from here, right? Unless it's like a slinger, and even then it's still kind of hard to dodge it if they shoot right down the middle. So you want to dodge before running out of the pallet. That's the other thing I want to say about Killer Shack. Other than that, I always say personally to initiate chase right about here because you can see them coming through the door that way, you can see them coming that way. That's pretty much going to initiate a safe chase from the beginning versus like camping here, because what do you do if you're camping here and they push through the middle of Shack and you're running this way and now you're stuck either throwing pallet or getting stuck in that weird 50-50 area. So I like initiating chase from right here on the Killer Shack. Yes! What the fuck? I can't run through there. It wouldn't let me run through the door. I probably was just missing, I guess. Build number 3. Nemesis in terms of whip downs. Will be number 2 soon. I have to hold forward because I would end up having to throw that pallet or something.
Be one pallet. I won't lie to you. It's 1v1 me at typewriter pallet. You won't.
Can I make it? Hell yeah, I can. Check pallets overrated. So that's it for the common tiles. And now let's move on to the tiles that appear in the Wrecker's Yard realm. Okay, so now let's move on to some of the Autohaven Wrecker tiles. Just the common tiles, ones like the trucks and the rocks, all the stuff that you're going to want to greed, and things that can be used more effectively against certain killers. So a lot of the pallets you're going to get are going to be around either a truck or a pile of garbage, like it can be on this one, it can be between these two. Obviously, it's on this truck over here. And a lot of these are just going to be used as normal pallets. Now, the thing is, there is literally no pallet on this entire map that you cannot make around again by greeting if the killer respects. Obviously, if the killer doesn't respect, then you're not going to make it around again. But that being said, like if this one, if I hit him with the stop for a second and he respected, I would be able to make it again. Obviously, in this scenario, you'd have this OPeness sitting right here in front of us that we'd want to use, but we'll get to that later. But really, with ones like this, and these trucks particularly, I will say, are much better against projectile killers. Something like a Trickster. It makes it more interesting, too, because you're trying to keep this in line with you and the Trickster to break line of sight, and you have this hood of the car as well as the pallet. Sometimes you'll have a hook or a tree here as well that gets in the way, and it just makes it really interesting to try to game around it. Now, this side right here is another interesting one to loop really tight when you get this pallet, because it's oddly shaped, and a lot of killers won't loop as tight as possible. And it's really easy to stub your toe, I will say, as well. Now, these type of loops, what you want to do is, as I just did, that's how you stub your toe. If you ever hear me say stubbing your toe, that's what I mean, by looping too tight and losing ground because you loop too tight. Whereas, when you're looping tight, and what I mean by looping tight as possible, right, is you can be holding in towards the car. You see how I was doing that? I was running at an angle. But if you run at too steep an angle, you start losing distance, right? But you can still run full speed at an angle. Now, you want to do that because the very first frame available, did you see how I cut inwards? That's what you want to maximize and minimize the distance taken away. So usually what I'm doing is I'm holding into the car, and then I use my camera to sort of come around, and then I'm using my thumb as well to sort of draw around it. So I don't know if you guys can see, like when I come in and then out, and then in and then out, like I'm drawing around it each and every time I do that. Now obviously when the killer's chasing you, you need to be doing it like this, right? And not just looking ahead of yourself and still looping as tight as possible. And that is the ongoing struggle of always getting better at Survivor, is really your pathing. You can always loop tighter, literally always loop tighter, even looking behind yourself. Now that is one thing too, is you don't always need to be looking behind yourself, right? When we're talking about looping tight, so you don't just need to always be looking like this the whole time, right? Always just, and getting good at that. Yes, that helps and whatnot, but you want to be able to look ahead of yourself so you don't like miss this window, right? I got the window this time, but say I was looking behind myself and got distracted and didn't hit the window, and I just hit like right to the side and face planted into it. That's why you want to get better at doing this when you're chasing, right? You turn the corner and then look, right? You turn the corner, or you turn the corner and then look, and you turn the corner and then look. Because you don't want to be constantly looking behind you, because if you're constantly looking behind you, it's going to be harder to loop as tight as possible without stubbing your toe, right? Or, as I said before, you're going to risk face planting into the wall and slightly missing a window, or slightly missing a threshold like at Killer Shack or something like that. A good way to practice these as well, practice looping tight, is if you're walking anywhere. Say there's a gen on the other side of this car. When I'm coming around this car, I'm going to loop it, right? I'm going to come around this car, and I'm going to come right here. And say there's a gen right here. Same thing coming around the car. Coming with the car, I'm always looping as tight as possible, because you're always practicing. Coming around any corner you're running around, right? As tight as possible, tight as possible. Also, there's different hitboxes, and things are shaped differently, so getting practice in this way is a huge help as well. Like, literally, no matter what you're running, you should just run as tight and as efficiently as possible, no matter what you're moving around and running. And that will just help you get better and better. And then same thing, right? Like, if you're just having your first warm game and you're just doing this, right? Practicing getting warm, right? And then do both sides. Practicing not losing any ground while you're turning around and looking behind, right? Because you can do that literally throughout the game, and then you'll be so much in practice that when you're in a chase, it's just like, oh, okay, I'll do this literally all the time. So it's just good to get some practice in when you're not doing anything else, literally, especially when playing Survivor. Well, this is what I wanted to sucker him into, because this is an interesting tile versus Trickster. You can throw over some of them, but not all. He's not even trying. Oh god. I hate that you have to go so... This window. Oh, fuck. There's like nothing for me to greed. No! That's so upsetting. Yes. What is going on here? No, they got me. Damn it. So this is another one of the ones I was talking about, that this one is very effective against things like Trickster or Huntress because of all the things that you can get in the way. They can throw over like this area right here. So obviously you have to be careful with this, and you get stuck in one of these situations where I'm always telling people Urban Evasion is an underrated looping perk, because when you get in scenarios like that, you don't lose anywhere near as much distance and you can keep looping. But you can keep this in between you and Huntress, you can keep this in between you and Huntress. Obviously you don't want to loop this side. Every now and then you can loop this side just for funnies, but this side is asking to get hit specifically. But this is another one of those ones where even if the killer respects it hard enough, you can still go another one. If the killer really respects and you're looping tight enough, you can still make it one time around. Even though it looks really wide, a lot of times killers will respect very hard. Don't want to throw this though. This is something you gotta wait for. The tier 1 Nemi's whip is so annoying. Dang. Yay! Good shit, Nemi. Luckily, I stayed in position. I have to throw this down because someone's on the ground. I can't add to this pressure. Let's fucking go. I fucking love that crouch jig, dude. This shit is so much fun. Alright. This is the same thing. You just want to loop super tight. It's shaped pretty weird, so be careful with the little tip at the edge there. But if you loop as tight as possible, you never know if you're going to get extra loops or not, just because the killer has stubbed your toe. But be careful looping that tight as well, because you can also stub your toe and go down just because of it. But this is definitely one of those pallets where even if you greeted it just once, you can make it around again. Both sides as well.
Maybe we get. I can corner attack him. Maybe.
Yes! So now this one is a bit unsafe if you're going to greet it. If you're going to greet it and they have even Bloodlust 1, you are not making it back around. This is one of those longer tiles, but a lot better against one of the projectile killers unless they're pushing you this way. If they're pushing you this way, this is another one of those tiles where you'd want to juke before running through the pallet, or you'd want to stick to looping this side, which is much more unsafe of a side, but at least they're not going to be able to hit you with projectiles on this particular run right here. Because even running this way, getting around the corner, that's a long shot for you to be able to make it to, or not make it to specifically. That's why if you're going to juke it, either juke it that way or that way. You don't want to run in between it because you're stuck in the bottleneck. But same thing with this, looping as tight as possible. Here's what the hitboxes, or the boxes look like if you're looping as tight as possible. Come around this tire, and then loop in. And it is a little bit wide right there, and then you loop in. Do the same thing. This one right here looks like a bunch of garbage. This one is not the safest if you're playing against a projectile killer. That's why you'd want to loop this one instead. This one is a little bit more unsafe, obviously, and is more greed worthy, so you have to be careful, specifically with this spot right here. You can see through these two right here, but this spot before you get to here, before you got to here and they're already switched to sides, you might be forced to throw the pallet. And if you threw the pallet, they could just double back and hit you. So if you're throwing a pallet, you really want to make sure you're on the side like this way if you're going to throw it. Because if you're looping this side and throw it, there's much less opportunity for you to get away with this. Obviously running this way would be a little bit better, but once again, still not ideal. This way is the way you'd really want to be looping this if you came upon this tile. And then you can greet it and run around one more time. So this is a very interesting one as well. I know we already talked about the trucks, but when they're on the cars, this one you can definitely get hit over with Nemesis Whip and Huntress, so you're going to have to do some of the jukes or stay in line with this tree. The tree is very hard, and this is a very tricky tile to try to get value out of if it's like a Huntress. That's once again why Urban Invasion is good, but you can get hit over this. Maybe not this right here over the hood of the car, but if you're over here, they can definitely hit you over this. Same with here. If you're here, they can hit you here. I'm even sure they can hit you here. Over the top. It hasn't happened to me because I'm never trying this right here because I'm always assumed to have been hit over the top. But I'm pretty sure you can get hit over the top there as well. You double backed last time. Nah! Yes! No! God damn it. I shouldn't have even thrown that. How do I get this shit to work? Dang. Alright, the double tree rock. I actually love this thing. This is another one of the ones where it looks a lot less safe than it really is. This is not the most unsafe tile. It is if you get caught back and forth here with it already dropped and you're trying to jump, but it's really not that unsafe if it's on this side as well. Like, this is a long way. Obviously, it's unsafe. That's why you don't want to drop it and get caught jumping back and forth. But these are longer than they appear. A lot of times it looks like the killer can mind game you right away, and a lot of times the killer will try for longer than is really necessary before they figure out that they really can't mind game you, especially because you can see over it. Obviously, this is one of those one Huntress can throw over, so be careful. You can duck underneath it, but you want to use those trees to your advantage and ducking, because if you duck, you lose a little bit of ground, and then once they get close enough, then you're going to have to form into this side, right? But this is probably my favorite of the greedable rocks on the Autohaven Wreckers place. Damn it. Now, I call this one the single tree rock, because guess why? It has one tree. This one is another one like the double tree rock, where it is safer than it appears. You can loop extremely tight on it. And when you're looping extremely tight, especially on something like this, like, you actually have a smaller hitbox than the killer does. Gotta give a shout out to Absolved Live. for giving us that info about how you actually have a smaller box. So when you can actually loop a slight bit tighter than the killer has. So that's why I'm always telling people to loop as tight as possible, because the killer literally comes a tiniest bit wider around the corner. That's now obviously it's made up for the fact that they're faster than us, and they need to be faster than us anyway to be able to catch up. But that's why, and sometimes if you ever notice, if you're playing against like a Scratch Mirror Myers and you're on a rock like this and they're not mind gaming or anything, it's like, man, they're not even catching up to me. And it's because you literally have a smaller hitbox that allows you to loop tighter than the killer. Now it's marginal. It is very marginal, but that can be the difference, just looping that tight between making the pallet and not making the pallet. This is just another one of these. This is another very fun one to greed, because for some reason, even though it's bigger than it appears, a lot of killers will try to mind game this, and you can see literally every killer over this, which makes this one really funny. It's oddly shaped, so it's hard for the killers, once again, to loop as tight as you, especially once you know. And you want to be looping in line with the tips of the tires, really, and the tree. You want to be like skimming them, but looping like the tiniest smooth circle around all three of them. This is exactly the type of tile that makes me happy to play controller on Survivor versus mouse and keyboard, since I can keep doing all these little jagged movements walking around it. And it's good because you can pretty much don't have to look behind yourself too much to be able to keep the killer in line of view while still concentrating on looping as tight as possible. Oh! Dang. I could have thrown it. Yes! Yeah! Play. Wow. Oh shit. Yay. I can get away. But like, think of how it's better since everything else is bad. Sir. Sir. This is another one on the rocks, actually. This is a very, very safe rock. It doesn't look that safe, but if you stand right here, you can see pretty much which side they're coming from on a lot of the killers. And if not, you can stand right here, and you'll still have most of the time to be able to get around. It has the one tree up in the middle. This side as well, because the projectile killers can't throw it around, and this one also is wider than it appears. It's a great rock to greed, but it is safe to throw as well. It's that type of situation. He's going to get me. No, you got me on the right way. Why is he looping so loose, dude? Oh, you got me this time. No, I didn't. If you'd have jumped, he might have got me there. Yes! Yay. So the funny thing was, I wanted to walk to the pallet the first place, but I had to loop that one once because I wasn't sure if I was going to make the pallet. Yeah, greet it and then run. I love doing that. No! Oh, I should have gone to that first. Walking square into wall. Oh my god, this is terrible. Now these are some interesting tiles now. These are the same as like the rock or the pile of garbage, but the interesting thing about these, I have no clips of these, is these used to be huge dead zones at the ends of these maps. Now they decided to throw a bunch more pallets in here, and it can be very frustrating as killer to know that even when you push them out to the corner of the map, such as this, that they still have a pallet. But be aware that you do have resources out here now. They're not guaranteed in every single corner, and if you're running windows of opportunity, you're going to see them. But if it looks like all hope is lost, like say the Killer Shack wasn't here and all it was over here was Shamrock and that pallet was already thrown, right? You can now have an opportunity if you run out to these corners to actually find a pallet. They've done this on this one and at least Azeroth's resting place, but those were the two that you worried about, the dead zones at the corner of the map in general. So the fact that they have pallets now to the absolute corner of the map is both frustrating as killer and very comforting as survivor. Now this was just a good example of the corner, but this is just your standard greed rock. This is one of the most fun to greed as well. You want to, and also when you want to do these greed rocks, you never want to be like camping the tile. Like say this was the only tile in the area for a while, and you ended up here. You were holding forward until you got to this tile. You want to initiate chase on the opposite side of the pallet. You don't want to stay at the pallet because you have nowhere to go except for throw the pallet. So when you initiate these chases, you want to be on the other side of the rock, or of the pallet on the rock, because that way they come from there and then you're going to get stuck doing this game. But at least you're looping already instead of camping the pallet, and I'm either going to throw it down or, unless you're playing against Clown, it is a good idea against Clown to sit here camping the pallet and then they hit you with the thing and they expect you to pre-drop, and most of the time they're going to push you around. So it is a lot of fun to sit here camping the pallet and not throwing it against Clown. I will say that's like the only time where you want to camp the pallet. Unsafe pallets versus Clown, you camp the pallet and don't throw it. Trust me, it works. Autohaven Wreckers has the easiest Shamrock to not stagger on. I mean, they're easy to look at, easy to find. This one you can see it right there clearly. You can run straight down. Same with this one over here. You can run right straight down this right here and not stagger at all. You run it down that way, or you can run it down this way. Now, to be fair, the only way you'll get actual value, unless you have balanced landing, off of Shamrocks is if it's close enough to something for you to be able to connect. So say this was close to a lane gym with the back window that we were talking about before, and it was right here, right? That's when you could get value off of this, because you could run around this way, force the killer to come up to you. Then you wouldn't even need the running vault. If it was right in the middle, you could do a stagger cancel where you jumped right in front of the window. You could immediately vault it. You wouldn't have to run down the side either way to avoid the stagger. But most of the time it's not there. There's nothing there to really get off of, so most of the time you're only running this if this is the only thing and there's no pallets there and you're like, okay, here we go, right? Here comes killer running up this way and you're like, alright, run down the stagger rock and then hopefully try to make it somewhere else like this or something. You know, most of the time Shamrock is completely useless. It's just easier to not stagger on this map particularly. I see what you're talking about. So this would be the scenario that I was talking about earlier about how if Shamrock could be connected to a window, this is the exact scenario that I was talking about. It is close enough where if you ran up Shamrock and then you could jump the vault and actually get use out of running up and jumping the Shamrock. But you have to have perfect RNG for it to be this way. This truck just got hit by this little thing on the ground right there. It looks like a leg. But for some reason, and really recently, you have to be careful of this. This did not used to block your path, but as you're seeing right here as I'm moving side to side, I was not walking forward. So now you have to be very careful of this thing, because usually if you want to get the fast fall, you have to run out here, but you have to be careful now because of that. So you want to run a little bit wide now before getting the fast fall. And ideally, what you want to do if the killer doesn't do any mind games and you've got the proper head start, you're going to run through here, right? Do that again. Run in, get the fast fall, and then the killer's going to push you around this way. You can have some fun with some mind games here as well, where you're stuck back here and you hit it, and the killer goes around that way, and then they come back, and then they go around again. You can stand here. The only problem with this is, once again, dealing with some latency, is I wish I could give you a constant answer of, like, the killer is going to be right here and swing, and you can make it safely with a medium vault, but you never know with killers on medium vaults. So most of the time, if I'm going to do that mind game, I act like this, like I'm running at it, and then I try to get the running vault like I just did on the third one. Because a lot of times the third one is the one where they give up and they're like, this little effer, and they're going to come in and hit you. So ideally, this is what you would want to do, and then they push around. But also, if you have too big of a head start, be careful. Like, if the killer was way far behind and I just ran away, you don't want to just jump it immediately either. Because if I jumped and the killer went around that way because they just expected me to just run and jump it, then I'd be screwed and I have nothing to get to. Also, this can't really be connected to too much either, just because you can't vault this window back that way. So, it's an alright tile. Not great, but you will definitely waste some of the killer's time on it. It's just not going to be like an infinite or like save you from going down or anything like that. Most of the time, you're probably going to go down, getting away from this tile. But you can get 3 vaults in some mind games before that happens. You double back here. Ah! That's what I was worried about. And I lucked out. Look at that. I mean, skill. I totally 150% meant to do that. Am I right? Right, head start, all that shit. Let's go around this way just for. Damn. To the pallet. Oh damn. No. Can I make this? Yes! Am I gonna get down to here? Am I out of position? Just enough to loop this thing. I don't even get another go around, do I? Damn it. Alright, so this is what I call the broken bus. This is the worst version of the 3 versions of the fun bus. This one appeared like a month ago. All of a sudden it was a tile. And honestly, it's just 2 unsafe tiles back to back. You can greed the pallet, the killer, they respect it and go around, and then you can come over here and jump it at your own risk. Right? If you don't jump it, a lot of times killer will double back, and then you want to be getting this running vault, so you're running up here. But this is very unsafe as well. And if you run around the long way, killer's going to see that you didn't, so the killer's going to chase you again. So if you come around this way, then you're running back to the pallet again, right? And the killer might respect, and you can come around this way. But this is, once again, just more of like an ideal scenario. And if the killer actually committed, they probably go around that way to cut you off, so they'd push you this way. And you come in. But really, this is just 2 unsafe pallets, because there's the ideal way to run, the killer is going to exactly know. You just don't want to get caught around on this side, really. Because if you're on this side, at least there's more you can do, more you can see, and you can get over to here. Now this one, the same thing. If you don't see the killer basically right here is like the only safe time to vault this, because if the killer is right there and you vault, then if they go around, you're gonna be able to make it back to the pallet again. But if they're even like, if the killer's even like here, you're probably gonna get hit unless you're on the running vault. And if you vault too soon, you're not gonna see which way they came around. So if the killer goes around that way, you're going to get hit or get stuck into this mind game again. So this is the bus you really want to see the least, since it is by far the most unsafe. Do I have that pallet? I do, yes! Then unbreakable. Yes! Oh god. God damn it. So this is the middle child. This is the fun bus. This is what I call the straight up just the fun bus. Because the funnest bus, or the most fun bus, and the broken bus So you have to have this one be the fun bus. Now this one is interesting because this window is better used for jukes, right? Because a lot of times the killer's just going to go around, and this is kind of a long way to be able to get the jump unless you have a huge head start to make it back around. So a lot of times I won't jump that window unless the killer swings and whiffs there, and then I jump this and come around. Because that'll guarantee you enough distance if the killer swung and whiff. But the reason the killer would swing and whiff is if you're coming this way. Right, because this is basically what you're going to do most of the time. Now, a lot of times the killer's going to think that you're going to try to chain it to the window, so you can get a lot of extra greeds out of this, unless you're running this way. But if you're running this way, you can do this whole thing. And this is where you're going to want to end up juking it, because if you pushed out from this way and the killer was chasing this way, and in here and here, the killer's going to have an easy path to run back around that way. So that's when you're going to want to hit these jukes to sort of hold them off. But if you're coming around this way, if you had a big head start, I suppose, you could run it straight up this way. Like if the killer was all the way back there and came around and you watch him come around this way, you might even be able to get 2 loops out of this, right? And the killer coming around, come this way, and he's pushing around, and you get your 2 loops. You have to have a pretty big head start to have this happen, though. And then come around the same thing, right? And if he was close enough to respect, that would be a good chance to be able to jump it again as well. Because if he respected, he'd be moving back a little bit, or he'd have to for sure go around this way after respecting for a sec. So if he went that and he respected, that would be another good chance for you to jump the window. But most of the time I just use this window for jukes, and I just use this pallet for extra greeds, because a lot of times the killer will know you're trying to get that way, and you can get extra loops coming around because they'll expect to try to cut you off. And they'll do that both ways. Plus, like I said, as well as a lot of other rocks on this map, they are safer than they appear. So a lot of times killers will try to expect you to drop it, and then they'll just go around the other way. But even if you did drop some of these, they're a lot better to jump back and forth. You never want to get caught in that because of latency, and you'll pretty much always get hit. But even then, it's not like a guaranteed immediate hit like most of the other times. But, like I said, you just want to be looping this one, greeting it as much as possible. If the killer comes around here and he swings and misses, jump the pallet. If you have a big head start and you run and jump around, you can jump it a few times. And then if you're coming here and you're running around this corner and he respects it, then you can jump the window as well. But if you're getting chased this way, it's going to be the point where if you want to incorporate that window, you're going to try to juke it. That would be the best case scenario in this. And then sometimes they mind game themselves hard enough where if they go around there, you can even just come back to this. Or if they went all the way around because they said screw it, then you did get your head start again. And if they're pushing around that way, then you can jump it the original way and run it like you had a big head start in the first place. But they have to mind game themselves pretty hard for you to be able to pull that one off. God, I don't like this bus.
Reset there. But yeah. Eruption. Yeah, I love it. But I'm happy it's not dead though. It's just very mid. Like that perk being mid is perfect by me.
What, eruption?
Yeah.
Man, I just didn't get. I mean, yeah, it was annoying, but I feel like everything always just gets over nerfed. Just like, oh fuck, I stubbed my toe. No, I believe I'm still going to. Dang. Why he no use power? Here we go. Hope your weekend was spectacular. And your what fun bus? We got the not as fun bus. That's fine. They greet it, or did they go for the thing? No, they didn't. Boo. Oh, he left. Lol. Oh, boo. Once all these survivor guides are done, I'm going to go right back to what it was. Let's look in open lobbies. That's why I feel like our schedules are different. I don't know. Good point. Good pointsicle. I had thought about that the other day. I was like, when are we going to get like Yumi, Spoopy, and fucking like as if. This is the most fun bus. There are 3 versions of the fun bus. This is the strongest of the 3 in my opinion. This one has this middle window right here, which is just great because that's a long enough wall where you actually can medium vault for once and not get hit by it if you wanted to. Obviously, you're a little bit slower on this because you get pushed down by that tire, this ramp running up to here. But at the same time, even with that, the medium vault is a lot safer here. Now, how you really want to be doing it is incorporating it with this pallet, right? So ideally, you'd be running it this way, and then the killer respects the pallet, and then you jump the window. And then if the killer pushes you back around this way, then you can run this way, and then run it wide. And then if you see the red stain, then jump it, because if the red stain is right there and they double backed, you would have time to vault again. Now, I don't like vaulting again because a lot of times when I see killers do that, they'll do the mind game so that you get you to mind game yourself, and you come back around, and then they come back around and slap you, right? So unless that happens, if they're running this way and I jump it, you want to still be looking like that. You see how far I can see to see if they came around, and that way you can see if they're going to go that way, if you need a double vault or not, because you can have a pretty steep vision around this corner, even though it doesn't look that safe. And same with this one right here. If you ran around this way, and say the killer like hard respected, where you got even more space, you could run around this way, coming around this way, then here. Now be careful with this, because I have had killers vault this, and if they vault that coming around, then you're pretty much screwed. But if you even got to here when they vaulted, it didn't help them at all. But just be aware of that the killer vaulting that is a play that can happen. Now you just run right at the window, and that is the running vault. You can just run right at it the way I just did, right? Run right at the window, and that is the running vault. The one area that you do not want to get pushed at, because there's pretty much nothing you can do, because if you're pushed around here, you can run to the window. If you're pushed around that bus, you can run to the window. You do not ever want to come out here. This is where you never want to get caught on this area. This is the spot that killer would be absolutely overjoyed, because now the killer can push you around either way and make it before you made it back to the pallet. You're worried about exactly what I just did, looping too tight, because you can't make it up this. You can cut about halfway up that ramp right there, as right about there, but you don't want to get caught looping too tight because you're worried that the killer is going to get you before you can even make it to the pallet or greed the pallet. And that's the same reason why you don't want to throw this pallet either, because if you throw this pallet, it is so unsafe because of this back and forth here. You are going to get hit eventually unless you just ran over and won the 50-50 there, I suppose, but that's just way too risky to even try, in my opinion. So just no matter what, try not to get caught in this back area here. You want to get caught in that between area and here, and more specifically like around this back area. You know what I mean? Like this back area is good. You can keep seeing them coming, and you have that nice window there to see, you know? So that's really what you want to do here. And this is the strongest version of the fun bus. I call this the most fun bus, or the funnest bus.
Yeah, love to see it.
Once you get to the window, I'm breaking off. Alright, shoot after me anyway. Oh damn, I got hit.
That's a
Boo,
good window. Hell yeah.
Oh fuck. I fucked up and got caught on this. Can I make this? Yes! Yeah, I got the funnest bus.
Also, a very fun random side note about this map. It has the biggest dead zone I've ever seen. Out of nowhere.
Oh my god. The funnest bus. No! I tried to dodge it. I should have dodged behind that. Oh. She got wrecked. She wants to tunnel now.
Hold on.
No, she's getting teabagged.
Okay, she just know she only wants you.
She got wrecked. She's that upset, main. That's hilarious.
Where the fuck is she? There she is. Where am I going? Made the fun bus. Oh shit. Didn't really expect that. It is now blocked. I don't want to throw the pallet down, so let's just fucking get out of there. Yay. Yes. Come on, you can do it. Not like that, though. Oh, shit. Good shit. No! You should have gone for the hatchet. The fuck was that? Oh my god. The wheels on the bus go round and round. The average KD is literally less than 1.0. You can greet it. They gonna greet it on a death hook. I don't give a shit. Hey Badger, do I give a shit? God damn, I should stub my toe in the thing. I'm gonna stay here and loop it. Did they like put that thing there? I feel like they put that thing there. Can you like not get the fastball from this side? Yeah, I can. I just need to be better. No! So here we are on my favorite tile on all, really, of the Autohaven Wreckers. To be fair, it shows up on all the maps, but it is a chance. You can get this, or you can get, like, the truck that has the window, so it is RNG. When you get this one, this is the one you want to see. So a lot of people just think of this as this pallet right here, that window right there, but you want to run everything together, specifically while looking up a little bit. If you tilt your camera up while running this, you can see through it on most parts of it, and you can see which way they're going to push you all the way to there. You see how I have just that one blind spot in the middle where there's the thing blocking? But other than that, you have this huge block with both a pretty safe window and a pallet that you can see underneath, and the killer can't mind game you in. Obviously, a killer mind game if you're running like this, but if you look underneath, or you can see, that makes it much tougher, and the killer really won't get a jump on you. And what you want to do is run this, and then keep the pallet up, because that helps everything tremendously. And once the killer starts catching up to you, you want to run up the ramp. Now, if you're coming from this direction, you can cut up a little bit, but you want to be careful of that as well, because if the killer's getting close and you cut up, you want to get to this side as far as possible, because if you cut up and you're immediately running here, the killer's still be able to hit you here, even though you're on the ramp, because they're tall enough to be able to hit you and you're too close to the edge. That's why if you run this way, they might whiff. But you want to, as soon as you get up, you cut to this side because you're running to here anyway. Now, this is one of the more interesting windows where I actually think I mind game myself on this a lot, because if they come here, if they moonwalk up to here and they start their swing here, I've never been able to just jump the window off reaction time. They always get the hit. Because you're falling in the air, and a lot of the windows, when you're falling in the air, you'll get hit farther past the window than it really appears. So with this one, a lot of times what you'll want to do is stay here and wait for them to come up, and if you didn't see them come up, you run back, and then wait for them to come up, and then come back, right? And then it is safe enough where if you even see the red stain there to jump it, because you have to go all the way back around that way. And that's where I end up mind gaming my own self. I am guilty of this, is because if I see the red stain, I'm thinking, like, if they mind game it, then it's more in trouble, and that's where sometimes I get caught not vaulting it and stuck doing the medium vault scenario, which is why I'm telling you it's better to do it this way and wait for them to come up, and then the second you even see them do the running vault and then run around. If you see that red stain, it is safe to vault. Now, ideally, you'd be running this way first, so you can run up the stairs the proper way. Especially if you're running this way, then if you could use this pallet to greet, if the killer respected it, then you could get back up to the window again. Obviously, you can't do that if you're being pushed this way. If you're being pushed around, looking at the killer, and they push you around, then you have no pallet to greet to get back to the window. That's why, ideally, if you had a choice, you'd run this way. But you have to go which way the killer is pushing you. But just for the general information, you would want to be running this way to run up to this, and then jump it once the killer gets up to here. Or spin here, like I said, to get the running vault, but just try to avoid this scenario here. If you see the red stain or you see the killer, some of them are tall enough where you can see their head coming up over here. If you can see the red stain or that, it is safe for you to vault. You will almost always make it back around again. Now, the interesting thing about this is it also has this tile right here. This pallet, which is very hilarious to greed. You would want to camp it here as well, because you can get a run on it, and you want to run inwards, right? Because if you get caught doing what I just did with that wide loop around, a lot of people don't realize this, but getting that wide loop around, that loses a lot of ground. So you want to be running always inwards when you're changing directions, and you want to be like moving constantly. So a lot of times killers, if they're at a tile where they can see you over and I'm doing something like this, they think I'm like shaking my head at them, or I'm BMing, because some people think bad mannersing is shaking your head in the video game, which I don't think it is, but at the same time, a lot of times I'm not even doing that. I'm just trying to keep momentum going, because it's to loop as efficiently as possible. If you go from not moving at all to full speed, it takes you that second to get your momentum. It's not like you're playing one of those movement games where it's all just like pathing on first person. You have to get back to full speed. So that's why you want to be moving all the time, right? So that, because you can get back to full speed, and that can be the difference between you making the pallet and not making the pallet. And you always want to be running inwards, right? That's why I'm shaking no, because like I said, if they change direction, you don't want to get caught doing one of those wide turns around. You want to get caught doing one of these turns in this way, because you'll lose less distance doing that. And this is very greetable pallet, but like I said, this is the side you would sort of want to camp on. Be aware that you can see a little bit over that. A lot of these kills you can see over it. If it's like a hag or a trickster, they're 110, so you won't be able to see them over it, but you'll get a little bit more of a head start since they're a bit slower, and you might make the pallet anyway. But this is definitely one of those scenarios where you want to keep moving, and you'd want to stay right here and make sure that you don't do one of those wide turns coming in, and then you can greet it, because that pallet killers are always respecting, which is really funny. Once again, if you're running this way, because they respect it, now you're back, reset the entire thing back to square one, which is why I love this tile. Now, admittedly, I just figured out about looking underneath this, so a lot of my clips are not going to be utilizing this, but it wasn't until a few months ago when I started utilizing it in Maine that I was doing this, so I don't have as many clips running this the way I would like to. However, most of the clips I have are running them, and you can run them that way, it's just not quite as good. But that's basically what you're always striving for. There are multiple ways to run things. I talk about that with Saloon a lot, how you can run up that one window and run. I just don't like running it that way because I never get as many loops around. So I always run it the other way. But that's the same thing. Just because you're running it one way doesn't make it wrong. You just might not get quite as many loops around it. Nope, gotta go for it again. That was smart. He kept me from going on the bigger loop by doing that. Yes! Can I do the bigger loop now? Damn, I didn't know you could actually hit me there. That's good to know. I thought it was at like an angle that he couldn't hit me at. You were wrong, bitch! I
should have been looping with my camera up. I was lazy. No! It is hard too. I believe I have the right sauce. Oh damn. He knows my tricks. I got super lucky. Damn. There's a challenge from the killer. Just to get good, I was using old Dead Hard and old Iron Will. Both of them are brainless strong. How did he miss? The game screwed him over there. Ah! I forgot Bamboozle! My dumbass. Completely forgot. Game by just playing. I think that's great. Alright, so the first time he knew I juked it. So I'm gonna try to count on him expecting me to juke it again. Dang. I second guessed myself. I should have just jumped it knowing that he was gonna go for it, but yeah, feeling I was gonna go up there, fake it. Oh, good shit. Ah! Pre-drop. I have the window here. I can't believe the price you pay. Nothing can save us. Justice is lost. Justice is right. Justice is good. Oh, boo. I should have waited much longer. Oh, he has the bouncies. Fuck. Oh, fuck. One of these days, the locker juke will work. That was purposely holding back on using his power because he knew it was bugged. I thought that was funny. Fine.
There we go. Tractor use. Oh, fuck. Alright, well, I don't think it's distance add-ons, which helps tremendously. And that brings us to the main. Now, this is one of the more interesting mains to run. It stays the exact same every time. There's only 2 windows you could possibly get. You only get one or the other. You will always have one, though. You have one here, which is the window you really want to see. And you have this one here. Now, we're going to do this one here because it's not quite as strong and you can't connect it to stuff. Now, it does remain the same idea to run to this window over here. Because most of the time you're going to have a pallet in here and you're going to be sitting... Or not a pallet. Most of the time you're going to have a gen in here and you're going to be sitting on the gen and then you're going to come back here because you don't want to run away too far. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. You're going to want to move your camera up because you can't see under the car this way. If you move your camera up a little bit, you see how you can see completely underneath it, and even if the gen is there. And that limits your blind spots to about here and here is your blind spots essentially, because then the killer can get a head start on you. But that's the goal. If you're over here, if the killer pushes you this way, you can run around here and then run this, and obviously you can see underneath here again. If the gen's not here, most of the time you're going to be out a little bit further, so it's a little bit more safe. And then if the killer pushed you around this way, then you jump the window and get away. Because you're just going to want the killer to hard commit to one side or the other. A lot of times the killer might not even know you're back here, so you can get away with it once or twice before it becomes a really hard game to play, because the killer knows exactly what they're doing and they're just going to keep double backing until they get enough distance and then know you can't make it to the window. But when you're off the gen, sit up here, look here, and then no matter which way the killer is pushing you, obviously looping as tight as possible. If the killer pushes you this way, then you jump the window. And if you can get the killer to kite around all the way, same thing, you would come out and push this window. Now, this window isn't the strongest either because you have to go super far of your way to try to get a running vault here, or you'd have to run all the way around here. There used to be a tile that you would get, a pallet right here, which made that window great because you could greed this and then jump this and then run around the car and jump back. But I have not seen that pallet in, like, years. Literally years. I have no clips of this pallet anymore. If that pallet does spawn, this is another thing you can do, is greed this and then jump the window and sort of connect the two together. But like I said, I don't think that is possible anymore. Now, the interesting thing about this particular window is if you're going to run around the back, right? You get to cut through the middle, but it doesn't save as much as you would think because a killer can just go around the side. If they had to cut through the middle and then go around the outside, it would save you more space or more time. But what the killer will end up doing if you try to run this as a big loop is the killer will just go around that way. They won't follow you through here and then cut back around that way. They'll just go around the outside. Now, if they just go around the outside and you are trying that does give you more space to sort of sit in here once again. But once again, that window is not the safest to try to connect to this because a lot of times they'll be able to mind game you before you can make it all that distance to this window, because the distance between the car and the window is greater than the car itself, and that's when it's a lot of problems. That's when you got to catch them either off guard or mind gaming themselves to be able to make it back to that window. Now, one thing you can do with this window is if you're running this way and the killer, you can't expect the killer to sort of go around that. So if you really want to get a little bit of extra loop, you can use this wall here, right? Make sure the killer is pushing you the right way, because you might expect you're going to do this. So then the killer can push around, and once you have the killer pushing you this way, then you can jump the window. That's what you can do, but that's more if the killer is pretty much going to beat you to that window. And if the killer's going to beat you to that window, there's no point in committing to it. So you'd want to stop here and see which way the killer goes, and then try to see if you can do something after that to connect to the window. So you can use this wall or that car, but I just do not think this is... It's technically safer, like it looks safer if you actually get the jump here, because the killer has to go all the way around this way and then go. But most of the time, that's not the scenario. So just be aware of that.
But all in all, slinger shots are a lot of fun.
Sir Hash Brown! I love that. I am.
And also,
I keep pressing the wrong button.
That slinger can actually beat like the whole like AC unit on RPD as well. for this Trickster, honestly. I do. I'm just gonna sit down gens.
Like on stream back in the day. Back in the day, when I hurt my foot, and I can't tap dance on stream no more. God damn it, he got me. Haha, but I hit him with the mind game and it worked. I'm gonna keep him here and just keep running around this, see if he goes for it. It appears he do be going for it. Touch this. Haha. A Nemi skin. But that's because I wanted a Nemi skin and the only one, and once again, that's licensed character. I'd have had to buy it anyway. And then number 2, it's the only skin available for Nemi besides the default. They should have given Nemi a skin. Dude, I really want this skin. I really want to run around as Reiner. Sorry, spoilers. I want to run around as the attack type. No, fucking spoilers. I can't even not spoil this. It's like when your brain is like, don't spoil, don't spoil, don't spoil, don't spoil, don't spoil. Why is she on a gen not getting the unhook? What the fook? No! I realized I wasn't infected yet. About to go try to get a hit. The crouch juke.
I want to see more Tricksters, but no one ever fucking plays them. I'm so sad about that.
I was having fun in Slinger. I forgot that when you aim down sights, it slows down. Oh, fucking hell. I have the window, though. Yay. That's funny. So when you get this window in main, this is the window you want to see in main. So when you're over here, this is the hiding spot that you want to hide if you're on the gen and then the killer comes, but you can, if you tilt your camera up, you can see underneath, so you can see which way the killer's pushing you. So you want to get the killer to follow you around the car so you can jump this particular window. Now this is one of the only loops that in the game that I think is genuinely challenging, especially when the killer is picked up on what you're trying to do later in the match, where they know exactly that you're trying to pull them around to make it to that window. Specifically if they push you this way. Because if they push you this way, and you can see them by tilting your camera up and they push you around, it's easier to get the running vault without even looking at them, right? Like you can get the running vault, you can look a little bit, but what is challenging is when the killer pushes you the other way and they know it. So if you're looking your camera up this way and you're pushing this way and then they double back and then they push you this way and they double back and then they're going to push you around this way once they think they've gained enough distance on you, and that's what makes getting this running vault challenging, right? Because there's a locker here you can jump in like I just did, and it's hard to do without looking forward. Now a lot of times I'll cheat and look forward for a second when they push me this way. When they push me this way, I'll make sure, and then the second I know that they've committed and I can jump it, that's when I look forward. Because looking backwards the whole time is that huge risk of either missing the window or jumping into the locker, and I'm not skilled enough to be able to do that. So usually the time I use to change my camera is once I've gotten to the blind spot that we were talking about and I know he's pushing me and there's no point in still like looking underneath because this is a blind spot and I already saw his red stain there. I know he's not going to be able to come back around the car. So that's when I flip this way and jump the window. Now obviously what would be most ideal would be you were doing your gen, you came back here, he kicked the gen, then he doesn't know what's happening, so he pushes you that way or that way, you're looking underneath, and then you come this way, because then you don't have to worry about any of it. You just see him coming this way, and it's very easy. But when I'm talking about looping tight and pathing, always improving, this is a perfect loop I'm talking about, and this one taking actual skill. Being able to look behind you the whole time and then jump the window with the running vault. Now, I'm still working on that. I want to be able to do that too, but obviously I'm not perfect, so I am still working on that. But that's what I mean by this being one of the only legitimately challenging loops in the game. You have to have the reaction time. You have to be looping tight enough for him not to gain distance on you. Make sure you can't do one of those wide loops I was just talking about, and you have to make sure that you commit at the perfect time to be able to jump without getting hit. And that actually genuinely makes this main building actually challenging to run properly. And actually take some skill, because a lot of the loops on main buildings take no skill, but this is one of the very few ones where it is genuinely challenging, even when it comes to your dexterity. I tried to get it to work the first time, and I was gonna camp it. It didn't work. Let's go loop this fucking thing. Yeah, how you like that? She's still chasing me. Yupperoni. The Care Bear stare. Magical. No, not enough. Yes, it was, barely. No, I stubbed my toe. God damn it. I thought I was gonna get hit whether I threw it or not. Dang. Damn it. Does it take out the whip again? No! He's too patient. I can't get him with it. Yes! That's the only angle you can get Nemi from. You can't get it the other way. But you gotta use them expecting you to go for the window against them. This is the only way. Ah! No! Oh my god, the window's blocked. I have nowhere to go. No, I tried to dodge it. Good shit, Meg. Stay here. Dang, she didn't go for it. She didn't go for it. No. Yes. That's pretty much all you can do on this map, this main building, is that exact thing. Swing. I mean, technically. Yay, that's funny. Yes! Oh god. I can't vault it because it would block. That was funny as hell, man. I was like, move! He runs and just falls forever. Bro, that is so sad. Haha, got him. You get me? No! If I didn't touch the thing, he would. Dang. At least I can buy block now until he runs around. Yay! No, what are you doing? Wow, it worked. But the pallet's already gone. There's a pallet around here somewhere, though. I don't think I make it to it. It's that pallet right there. Greet it. Damn, I should have thrown it. What for? Can I make it back to the window? I don't think I can. I don't think I make it to the pallet either, which is sad. Oh, you got fucked over by the video game. Yes. Damn it. We got the better of the two windows, to be fair. And we got the pallet. This is like the best setup you could get on Wretched Shop nowadays. I'm taking them away so they could crawl out. Can't believe that worked. Play Halo, I just like never got any better. I had a 50 in Lone Wolves, double. Lone Wolves became my warm-up though, so I was a not 50 a lot of the times in Lone Wolves. Yeah, got him. That's how you loop the inside car, by the way. Holy shit, what's up, Flippin'? I was watching Flippin' play earlier. Damn, I thought he was gonna go for more mind games. Damn. So I'm playing some killer and then switch to survivor. God damn it. I got the running vault. I thought I would have made that. Now, an interesting thing about this window and why you like this window more as well is you can get a pallet right here. And this pallet is great because you can mind game it back and forth. You can this one as well, but you have to, the killer has to like swing and miss. Because if you're coming back this way and they swung and miss, right, then you might be able to make it to this without them hitting it. You'd have to get the running vault, obviously. But ideally what you would really want is this pallet right here. Because that makes it so that this is actually sort of a viable loop and chain. Because you can come around here, have the killer push you around, right? And then you be coming this way or this way. And then say the killer pushes you this way. Comes around the car, you run here. They come here. Now we're mind gaming this pallet, right? And say the killer knows I'm going to run that way. And he comes this way. If he comes this way and you're looping tight, right? You loop tight this way and he goes around. There's still enough distance to be able to jump without him hitting you. Unless he gets the jump start when you greeted it, but if he got the jump start and he was too close, then you could just come back and greet it again. And even if he pushes you around this way, you force him to push you around that way, then you can jump the window as well. So you really want to see that pallet in combination with this window because it is possible, like I said, to sort of come in here, get pushed into this mind game, wait for him to come around, right? Jump the window, come around here, mind gaming this pallet, and then once you get to the right spot and he overcommits to one side or the other, come back in here, and then same thing. Now you got two vaults. Then you come in here, doing the same thing. Maybe he pushes you around this way, and now it's going to be blocked. But you just wasted a lot of the killer's time on what looks like a really bad window, and not the best pallet either. Now this pallet right here is a funny one to greed, admittedly, especially against like 110 killers, because since the pallet is here and if this window's not here, the killer always thinks there's nowhere to go and they think they have you cornered. So they tend to respect this one a lot more than they really should, because this one's a lot bigger than your typical unsafe pallet. This one's actually, you can get the vaulting back and forth, but once again, that's just dangerous in general because of latency issues. So I always try to avoid that, but that is a very good pallet to greed as well by itself. Oh god. I like can't see because of the sickness. God damn it. Can't even see her over that. I really can't see Plague over this with this. Don't really want to see this pallet over here too much, but this pallet is another good one to greet unless it's a Huntress or a Nemi or a Trickster, because they can hit you over those. That being said, if there was, you'd want to be playing the game, which makes it more interesting, but at the same time, it just makes it not as good a pallet, just for the purpose that you can't make it to the other window or chain it back and forth or anything with the main. It's just kind of the other pallet that's available at main. But this one, you would just be running it by itself. It's pretty much impossible to chain it to anything useful. Yes! That's the only angle you can get Nemi from. You can't get it the other way. But you gotta use them expecting you to go for the window against them. This is the only way. Ah! No! Oh my god, the window's blocked. I have nowhere to go. No, I tried to dodge it. Good shit, Meg. Yes! Oh god. I can't vault it because it would block. Oh my god. Should have thrown it, but I really didn't want to this early in the game. Yes. Alright, we got him that time. Dang. At least I can buy block now until he runs around. Yay. No, what are you doing? Wow, it worked. But the pallet's already gone. There's a pallet around here somewhere, though. I don't think I make it to it. It's that pallet right there. Greet it. Damn, I should have thrown it. For? Can I make it back to the window? I don't think I can. I don't think I make it to the pallet either, which is sad. Oh, you got fucked over by the video game. I should have thrown that down. Why am I not throwing these pallets down, bruh? So another thing I want to talk about is what we call OPenises. Now we call them OPenises because of the OP level of that setup. The first time I was trying to say that, I was trying to be like, the OPenis level is huge. Now naturally all I heard was OPenis, so that's all we call it now. But it's really just like an overpowered setup that you got from RNG. Now what you really want to be looking for is whenever you see a window like this, or something that you can get a fast vault that's a relatively safe window, you want that to be facing something that you can loop around. So if you had like a pallet between these two cars, which I'm not sure is possible, but there are car tiles, so let's just say there was a pallet between these two cars, that's what you'd be doing, right? You'd be looping this way, killer push you around, you push around that way, and then you run and you jump this window. Or you could even loop the other car that was sitting right out here. If the pallet was right there and you're pushing around this way, and then say the killer goes and then they push you around this way. Once you get the killer to actually commit, you jump the window, same as you were doing on the inside. And you always want to be looking, especially with something like Killer Shack, the Longwall Gyms, the O Gym right here, even LT walls sometimes, if you get the L right into it, can make it an OPenis as well. But being able to spot one in general can literally be the difference between you going down and not going down. Because you can have a pallet connected to something else and not have to throw the pallet, but that the killer could walk around and then jump into something else. You know, a lot of times, like I said, you want to look for long walls, lane gyms. Killer Shack is another big offender. Sometimes you'll have like a rock sitting here that you can run back and forth into after looping around, or even just a car by itself. You don't even need a pallet. Just having a big object in between you and your window can be a huge help. Like say this rock right here wasn't quite over here, say it was right here instead. If I was coming from the other way, right, and the killer pushed me around here, pushed me around this way, even though there's no pallet here, if I was on the other side of that of this rock, say it was close enough, the killer has to wait. Now the killer's going to know what you're trying to do, so he's going to keep trying to double back, and you have to be on top of that. But eventually the killer's going to have to commit to one way, and that's how you get back into the window. Now you can do that with most tiles. As long as you have a big object or something that has a pallet close to the window, that's how you chain them back and forth. You just wait for the killer to be at the peak and then you jump to the other one. Oh, what the fuck? I thought she would try to cut me off. Let's get back over here. Oh shit, no! She thought I was still looping that. It was such a good setup over here, dude. It's fucking hilarious. You see what I was talking about earlier about the OPeness? We found the OPeness. No, just barely didn't use it. Now another strength in playing BBD is holding forward or holding W. So this can be utilized literally everywhere. But what you really want to do is, say you're doing this gen, and this gen of the most progress is why you'd want to do this. You get your head start, and he's hitting you, and then he's following you, and he hits you, right? It's going to take him a while for him to catch up, even just by holding forward. If I just held forward, I'd get very far across the map, and he'd probably have to chase me all the way over here. Either take him away from the gen, or wasting a decent amount of time, more so than if you got hit and didn't go anywhere. So incorporating that into holding forward, if you get hit at a tile, say you're greeting the pallet, and he hits you, you never want to just like stay here. You always want to get maximum use out of your sprint burst. So you never want to be like, especially if you're healthy, this is why I'm never going for 360s if I'm healthy. Because if I'm going for a 360 and I get hit, I just wasted some of my sprint burst running the wrong direction to get to somewhere safer. Versus a lot of times, if you know what's going to happen, like if I'm looping this, and I know the killer's going to get a hit on me, right? Like I know I'm not going to make it around again, sometimes I'll just hold forward, let the killer hit me so I can make it to the even safer tile instead of trying to make it back to that tile or throwing the pallet or doing something like that, especially if you're healthy. If you're injured, that's the only time I'm going for 360s, but once again, that's because I know for a fact there's nothing to lose. I'm not going to lose out on my sprint burst and getting farther away. So if you get hit at a tile, you basically, the game is hold forward as long as possible for the killer to catch up. And when the last tile you make it to for the killer to catch up, that's where you stay, right? So say I wasn't going to make it to that next tile. Obviously here I would if the killer was here, but say I have to wait here for a little bit, that doesn't count as wasting time or distance if I wasn't going to make it to any other tile. I already used my holding forward, my sprint burst to get as far away as I could, and then you camp, and then you start gaming the next tile that you're at. Also, gaming the other side of the pallet, so the pallets over here, you would hold forward and then you'd get here. And then you start the loop, because then, like I said, you're not camping the pallet with nowhere to go except for to throw it down. Now, a lot of other things too is you don't want to just hold forward. You want to hold forward, what I say, hold forward with style. You want to throw in some loops randomly and get the killer to mind game themselves. And then say the killer mind games himself here and then you go on. Because if you're just holding forward, the killer's not going to fall for anything. But if you can get the killer to sort of do something interesting, right? Like if I was over here, right? And then the killer mind games himself and he thinks I'm going to double back or go around. And then he ends up vaulting the window or something and I've already long gone, right? And especially with more unsafe tiles, like the simple pallet gym. This over here is the one I'm always talking about the most, is lane gyms. Breaking line of sight, getting out of there, and then holding forward to the next. Obviously, this is in a corner, so that would have been a rough spot to do it in as well. But same if you're running this way. If you're running this way, get in there like you're going to do it, and then get away to the next. Lane gyms, simple pallet gyms, I do the same thing on, where you break line of sight for a second, then hold forward. Those are huge factors in helping you get to another one, because they're not the safest tiles anyway. So might as well make the killer think you're looping. Especially, that's one of the best thing you can do by greeting a pallet, because then the killer's going to be like, oh, this guy has a brain and he's a tight looper. So when you get to a tile, the killer's not even going to think about you holding forward. They're going to think you're going to try to do something flashy or greet the pallet or do something like that. And then by the time they even realize that they were mind gaming yourself, you're halfway across the map already being like, haha, got him. I'm all the way over here now. So holding forward, you don't just want to hold forward. You want to do things like break line of sight, right? Because if I was coming over here as well, like this huge thing, say this was like a skinnier, or sorry, say I was holding forward all the way over here, right? And you can use like this big truck to sort of break line of sight. Say he was chasing me this way, and I'm coming over here, you'd want to come around here and then come back this way, because the killer might expect you to go around that way, and they went around that way, and now they're like, well, if I double back again, I'm going to lose even more distance. So now they come around here, and look how much more distance you got by the time they even realize you're over here. So when you can shove huge things that the killer can't walk through or shortcut through, right? Like if I went this way and the killer was all the way over there, and then you wait here for a second, and they go that way, then you can just come back this way. Killer's never going to get you, you know? So I feel like that is a very good time to sort of break line of sight and then keep going. And I do consider that part of the holding W strategy. Holy fucking shit. I don't even know what I did there. I'll be honest. I just kind of went for it. Yay! Good shit. No, somebody went around the other way. Might make this window, but he's gonna go for the whip. Yes! Try to make it back to Killer Shack. Oh fuck, there's no pallet here. There's no pallet anywhere. There's nothing for me here. Luckily he's just going for the whip. You see guys, by the way, it's really easy to juke the whip in like the open field. I'm always telling people that. Yes. God damn it. I'm exhausted. I mean, it doesn't affect me, but... Oh, god damn it. What the fuck? That was lucky. As fuck, really. This is all borrowed time. Okay, nice. I'm literally like fucking wincing, like... Don't hit me! That teeny little juke just saved my life. Good shit. Thought about... Yes! I hate running towards Killer Shack against Nurse, though. I feel like it's not a good idea. And that's why she can like see through it. This is bad. Yes. God damn it.
Well, I'm gonna get the skillful point.
It's probably from the 7 hours, Kel. I just made that one. The disturbed word. Took me like 3 days. That would have been nice to like jump on the inside.
What map would be next?
Fucking A, this is bad.
What map is gonna be next? Up to you, though.
Damn, I'm fucked. Oh god. I think she only had one blink. Oh my god, of course. I was punished. Ah! Yeah. Meant to do it. That was lucky. I think she only had one blink.
There she goes. There she goes again. There they go again. Another random. Greet it. Oh, it didn't work. We just ran like a complete circle around this whole area. Let's go do it again. Yay, Claude gets out. That's fucking amazing. Boo! No, there it was. I was so close. No! Dang. Let's loop the building right next to the person on the hook. Isn't that a brilliant idea? Alright, now the last thing I want to talk about is throwing pallets when necessary. So I always talking about greeting pallets and saving pallets to your on death hook, which I do think you should do, because you definitely want a pallet there when you're getting chased and you're on death hook than when you're not. And even then it's more fun to greet anyway, because they respect it a lot harder. But just in that case scenario, that is 10 for 10 times to throw Killer Shack, right? You're on death hook, you're getting chased, throw the Killer Shack pallet. Nobody's going to be mad at you for that. Right? That's why you want to save it for that. However, say somebody is in the basement, I'm injured and I got found here, right? And the killer's coming, you have to throw that. I'm sorry, but you can't get two people in the basement. That's pretty much game over at that point, especially if it's earlier in the match. That would be a perfect time to throw the pallet. Just somebody slugged in the general vicinity or somebody hooked in the general vicinity. If you are going to go down and you are not full health, that is the perfect scenario to throw a pallet. Even if it's a very strong pallet, you don't want to lose the whole game because you thought greeting the pallet was going to be funny. That's when you want to throw the pallet, because you're risking everybody else's game and not just yours. If you're just risking your game, go ahead and go for it. But if people are in the basement or there's somebody hooked right here, right, and I'm right here, and I decide to greed this pallet because I think it's funny, killer can just leave me here, and now what we're gonna do, you know? So if that was a scenario, even though I love greeting this pallet, but say I was over here and it was a Bubba caught me out of position, that's not time to greed the pallet. You gotta chuck that pallet and get away from that, right? So basically, if it's a scenario where you're gonna add too much pressure to the game, even if you have not been hooked, that is the time to not greed, unless it's a very unsafe pallet. If it's a very unsafe pallet, it might still be okay to greed, just because there's the type of pallets where if you throw them, you're screwed anyway. But there's not that many actually truly unsafe pallets, to be fair, right? Like even this one over here. Like if I was at a simple pallet gym, I wouldn't be trying to greed this just because somebody was hooked right there, right? I'd throw this and get away, even if I had not been hooked yet. But if I was full health, I wouldn't throw it, because then I could just get away and that pallet's there for later on. But I know I'm always preaching greeting pallets, and yes, I do greed pallet every single time, to a fault, really. But there are scenarios where you have to throw that pallet, and the best time to throw the pallet is when you don't want to add too much pressure with somebody being down, somebody being hooked, or if you're just going to get put in the basement. Basement trapper, another good time to throw a pallet. Don't want to get put in the basement versus a trapper, but just know that greeting pallets is good, but if there's too much pressure already going on, then it's time to throw some pallets. Luckily, I stayed in position. I have to throw this down because someone's on the ground. I can't add to this pressure. Shack pallet's overrated.
Oh, I should have gone to that first. Gonna make the wall. Yay. And then make it back to the base. Yes. Originally, it was a challenge from the killer. Just to get good. I was using old Dead Hard and old Iron Will. Both of them are brainless strong. How did he miss? The game screwed him over there. Ah! I forgot Bamboozle! My dumbass. Completely forgot. Damn it. Times, and he has fucking 24 orbs sitting there from 3 vaults at an LT wall. You know what I mean? So it's like, what the fuck do I supposed to do here? I do not see any pallets anywhere. I'll have to go to Killer Shack, huh? That's fine. I'll be that guy and leave Killer Shack. Oh, fuck, no, I won't. I'll get stuck. My god, he's still double backed. He could have actually hit me before I made it, that jump. That's why I vaulted. Because I got stuck on the thing. He could have literally just M1'd me before I jumped. Yeah, big swing. Dang, good shit. I could have greeted it again. No. Yay. The funny thing was, I wanted to walk to the pallet the first place, but I had to loop that one once because I wasn't sure if I was going to make the pallet. Yeah, greet it and then run. I love doing that. No! Personally. Because he wasn't even like slowing down to aim it. He's doing like the fun whip where he just whips as fast as he can. That is the most fun way. But it's really actually difficult to hit somebody with the whip that way in the open field. I don't know how I just didn't get hit there. I was gonna go up there, fake it. Oh, good shit. Ah! Free drop. I have the window here. The zombie's gonna sell me out. I'm trying to get to him to pick him back up. Watch him not have recovered. Yes, Jake! Oh my god, Jake, stop moving! Jake moved twice. Oh my god, I got the slow vault. That was dumb as hell. Running vault. Ah! They're both there! Damn. Damn, damn, damn! Yeah, it's hard to do that thing at an angle. It is hard to. I believe I have the right sauce. Oh, damn. He knows my tricks. Ah! Oh, I got super lucky. No. No.
Be one pallet. I won't lie to you. It's 1v1 me at typewriter pallet. You won't. Maybe we get. I can corner track him. Maybe.
Oh. What? Don't throw it. Oh shit! Oh, run, run! I was trying to get around. The gray fox couldn't hear the blight coming. I thought I was running by myself because he was in the rush.
Yeah, he's on the
My
way.
bad. I
He
didn't mean
opened
to.
the door.
I didn't even mean to slow vault.
No, or just run the killer. You're all
Is he
good.
coming this way? He's coming this way. Fuck! Oh!
Well, he wants you. He wants your ass.
God damn it! He got me too. You're longer, but a lot of people forget about the fact that you also move a little bit faster. That was funny. I don't really have anything back here though. Yes, I do. No! Yes! What the fuck? I can't run through there. It wouldn't let me run through the door. I probably was just missing, I guess. I was looking backwards and just missing, probably just barely. It wouldn't let me run through! Walking square into a wall. Oh my god, this is terrible. Oh, fuck. Damn. Oh, what the fuck? I thought she would try to cut me off. Let's get back over here. Oh shit, no! She thought I was still looping that. It was such a good setup over here, dude. It's fucking hilarious. You see what I was talking about earlier about the OPeness? We found the OPeness. No, just barely didn't use it. It's that type of situation. He's gonna get me. No, you got me on the right way. Why is he looping so loose, dude? Oh, you got me this time. No, I didn't. If you'd have jumped, he might have got me there. Yes! Yes, help me. Yes. Oh, so close. Thank you, demo.